let's talk about what makes a villain truly unforgettable. We all know a great story needs a great hero, but it's so often the antagonist, the one standing in their way, who really defines the stakes and makes the whole story so much better.
So a lot of stories kick off with this classic question, right? They dig into a character's past to figure out where all that malice came from. But, for a storyteller, for someone actually trying to build a compelling world, there's a much more powerful way to think about it.
Yeah, it's pretty much the wrong question. See, for a storyteller, where the evil comes from is way less important than its rationale. The real question isn't what happened to them, it's how do they justify their actions to themselves? And that is so much more powerful, because a backstory, that's in the past, it's static. But a justification, that's active. It's the engine driving the villain's choices right now. It fuels their dialogue, and it gives the hero a living, breathing worldview to fight against.
Okay, let's dive into this, starting with the first, most essential rule of characterization. If you want to build a villain that feels real, you have to get inside their head. You can't just slap a label on them from the outside. Every single character, and I mean everyone, hero and villain, is driven by something we can call a yearning. It's basically their dream of what life should be. It's like their inner compass, It's always pointing them toward the person they hope they can become. So, what happens when that dream gets shattered? Well, horrific experiences, things like abuse, deprivation, a profound loss, can totally malform that yearning. A perfectly innocent dream of a good life can get twisted into this desperate craving for control, for power, for dominance over a world that hurt them so badly. So here's the crucial point. As the writer, you absolutely have to understand the villain's actions from their point of view. You've got to see the story they've told themselves, the one that makes their choices seem not just logical, but necessary, and even right.
Okay, let's keep going and see how this actually plays out. Because the villains we remember most, they aren't just evil for the sake of being evil. No way. They're the heroes of their own stories, and they come armed with a moral argument they believe in with all their heart.
Just take a look at this lineup of iconic villains. They don't just act evil, they justify it. Harry Lime argues that, hey, chaos and upheaval, that's where genius comes from. Noah Cross sees his incredible corruption as just the cost of progress, of building the future. The Joker? He presents chaos as the only true form of fairness. Even a guy like Ed Concanon claims his dirty tactics are just to fund the good work his law firm does. Every single one of them has a worldview that makes what they're doing seem right, at least to them. But, and this is a big but, this is where the hero comes in. See, the hero's job isn't just to punch the villain. It's to dismantle their moral argument piece by piece. They have to find that fatal flaw in the villain's logic, proving that no, chaos isn't fair, it only helps the powerful, that the future doesn't require cruelty, and that you can't wash away evil deeds with good ones. Suddenly, the conflict becomes a true battle of ideas, a clash of moral visions.
So now that we've got the philosophy down, let's look at a practical toolkit. There's not just one way to be evil, right? Here are a few key archetypes and distinctions you can use to start building your perfect antagonist.
All right, your first big choice is this. Do you want a villain who is evil incarnate? A pure force of darkness that gives the audience a really satisfying, cathartic defeat? Or do you want a fatally human villain? Someone who blurs all the lines and makes us question everything? The Joker, he's a force of nature, right? That's evil incarnate. But someone like Ed Concanon justifying his dirty work to fund the good, he feels much more fatally human, and that forces the hero to face some really uncomfortable truths.
And here's another great distinction. Is your villain a devil or a monster? Think of it this way. The satanic villain is a master of their evil. They're cunning, they're self-aware, and their cruelty is completely calculated. The Joker, again with his intricate plans and twisted philosophy, he's a classic devil. But a bestial villain, they're a slave to their evil. They're all about uncontrollable impulse, committing these acts of raw violence without any real insight or reflection.
This classic line from Milton's Paradise Lost, it perfectly captures that satanic or devil villain's mindset. It's a choice, and it's anchored in this profound, unshakable belief that they are superior. They don't just want to destroy the world, they want to dominate it, to prove that their way is the right way.
And finally, here's a subtle but really crucial difference for a writer. Is your villain a psychopath or a sociopath? A psychopath is a true lone wolf. Everything they do is for themselves. The Joker's brand of fair chaos doesn't benefit anyone but his own twisted sense of fun, which makes him a perfect example. A sociopath, on the other hand, operates with an us versus them mentality. They might be fiercely loyal to their own little group, but they can justify harming anyone outside of it.
This distinction is the key to their motivation. Is it pure, selfish individualism, or is it a twisted kind of group loyalty?
So after all this, the psychology, the moral arguments, the archetypes, why does spending all this time on the villain actually make for a better story? What's the real payoff here?
It all comes down to this one simple truth. A hero is only as great as the challenge they face. If you have a weak, unconvincing, or just plain cartoonish villain, well, you're just diminishing the hero they're fighting. The struggle won't feel meaningful, and the victory isn't going to feel earned.
At the end of the day, a truly great villain does so much more than just create conflict. By presenting this powerful challenge and a compelling, even if it's flawed, moral argument, they force the protagonist to grow, to question themselves, and to rise up to their full heroic potential. You could say the villain forges the hero in the fire of their conflict.
And that leaves us with one last, really provocative question to think about. The most terrifying villains, the ones that stick with you, are the ones who can make their justification sound so convincing, so reasonable, that they make you wonder just for a split second if they might actually have a point. They make you see the hero through their eyes, and for a moment, you see them as the villain.